Welcome to my channel. I want to apologise first for not posting like I said I was over a year ago, with regular content coming soon. But yeah, I needed to be in the right frame of mind to deliver this and in the right environment. And only now I've got the right environment and I'm feeling okay enough to read this out. So I just want to share some insights on what autism means for me and many late diagnosed, undiagnosed, misdiagnosed, or women who don't believe in a diagnosis but suffer with the same issues, trauma, and it gets heightened when, well, once you've had lots of traumas over the years continuously from childhood to an adult and you don't really know anything different, it's really hard to decipher what the autism is and what the trauma is. So it got to a point when I was 38 or 2020 when I couldn't regulate my emotions, nervous system anymore. It got to such a point I wasn't able to speak up for myself and have boundaries. So it just came out in the physical form with stimming, shaking, but I've learned now how to utilise that in a creative way and in a healthy way. So yeah, I'm in a better frame of mind. Music really helps, you know, shaking, yoga, just moving freely, a static dance, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I just want to share some important things because there's been some misconceptions within, you know, the medical industry world and the actual lived experiences of autism, and everyone's different and everyone presents differently, but that doesn't necessarily mean that what they're feeling on the inside and what's going on in here is reflecting in the behaviour what other people have been taught to notice and judge and assume what it is from their perspective. Okay, so without going on and on, this is part one, the early years, 4 to 7 years old. I have a vivid memory of first feeling like an outsider from a very young age, like 3 years old. Most of my childhood memories at school are surrounded by a feeling of not fitting in, and like an alien, so to speak. It didn't help that a family member used to spend a lot of time when he visited filming me with a big old-fashioned video camera. Probably because I was fascinated with how the camera worked and it was a novelty to me, and I had not seen many people using a video camera before, so I did what I thought I was meant to do: perform. Act like a clown, be a dancing monkey. I was encouraged even more because my family used to laugh at me and encourage me until it annoyed them, and then they'd shout at me and threaten me with bed too early. Just like any normal child. I used to imitate the characters from the telly, as well as family members like my grandmother and uncle. I copied jokes I heard and repeated them and felt proud that I had made the whole family roar with laughter. I guess I had found my comfort zone. Being in front of a camera screen was something I was used to from a young age and where I felt at ease. I wish I felt as comfortable around people and crowds and noise and busy places, but the truth is I feel really highly anxious, vulnerable and unsafe. To understand the reason why at age 39 years old was such a relief, because I'd always thought I was underconfident and weird, but it is perfectly acceptable to be an introverted extrovert in my quiet, safe space under no pressure to perform, but to do things at my own pace when a surge of energy takes me and drives me, exactly like right now when I do this video. So this is not how I normally am. I've just been looping how I'm going to do this video now in the car on the way here. I was like, do I say hi? Do I say hiya? Do I say greetings? It's like, don't be so ridiculous. Why, you know, empty your mind? And I thought, oh yeah, that's an autistic trait. That's very normal. So having a diagnosis is very comforting for me, so I don't loop the thoughts and think, why am I doing this? It's abnormal, nobody else does this, you know. But realising it's an autistic trait helps me reel it in, and it helps me spend time alone and get grounded, so I know what my energy is, I know what my thoughts are, and I don't end up looping unnecessary thoughts in my head. So the same goes if I hang around with too many people, there's too much talk about things that are not getting anywhere, you know, there's not plans for the future for a greater good. If there's plans that I can contribute to and there's exciting communications, you know, we can get things done, then there's a point to it and it's easier to converse. But I think 2 to 3 people is about as much as I can handle, unless it's in a super quiet environment like this and everyone's not talking over each other. That's just, you know, yeah, I haven't even included the noises of radios, and our Costa coffee machine in the garage has got extra sound effects of cutlery and canteen sounds. I'm like, because they think we'd like a more authentic experience having a coffee. So personally, I like to have a coffee in a river by a tree, not in a canteen. So I don't know what Costa Fortune coffee is doing, but apparently everyone says they're, you know, neurodiverse advocates, and they want a sensory-friendly environment for all. But, you know, they roll red carpets out for other minority groups, but for actual disabled people and people with sensory issues and elderly people who can't even walk to the local shop and get healthy food or walk to the beach to get some fresh air. They can't park their cars, too many double yellow lines. And you're driving around and around for ages, and you lose the will to live, and you can't use the parking pay machine because it's too complicated, and you don't like being rushed, and there's normally a queue. So you don't want to be a burden, so you just drive home. So that's not helping the climate much, is it? So I don't know, the powers that shouldn't be are contradicting themselves all the time, and they're not really helping the people like me. And I feel like I'm very lucky that I've got through a lot of healing work and I've come out the other end. And I can't say that this is how I'm going to be now forever, because we don't know what life's going to throw at you. You know, life is like this, isn't it? So we can't take it for granted. Yeah, so I don't know. But right now I'm so grateful to feel okay enough to do this video. So yeah, there's the butterflies. I get distracted very easily by beautiful things. Okay, I do not know. Hang on, just find where I am. I can never plan when filming of these videos take place. I can only prepare for as long as it takes until the universe tells me the time is now, and then I just do it. I cannot function like this all the time, and people get confused and think because this is what I do that I can just function like this at the drop of a hat, so to speak, but I cannot. I am mostly suffering with anxiety and trying my very best to breathe deeply and regulate my nervous system and emotions. I feel very blessed as well, because I've had a friend here and she brought me homegrown organic potatoes, cabbage, spring onions and tomatoes and some cheese from the market stall where she works, and I haven't eaten anything unhealthy for the last 2 or 3 days, and no sugar in my tea and honey instead, spring water instead of tap water, and I feel like a different person. But I guess when I'm, you know, at home, where I don't feel at home because I can't make a sound, I have to live like a monk, because if I, you know, make the wrong sound at the wrong time, it could be a cough, it could be a sneeze, it could be stepping on a floorboard, a creaky floorboard. The guy downstairs will go nuts, shout, bang the ceiling and call me terrible names. See you next Tuesday. So, you know, I just can't do my job. My jobs consist of making sounds, sound therapy, music, storytelling, my YouTube, you know, channel, my rap and spoken word. It requires a lot of repetitive practice, so I have to make sounds. I have to live somewhere where I'm free to make sounds. Otherwise, I can't live like most of my friends and family live, you know, and then I can't be around them because I'm still trying very, very hard to make something work in my life. So I've done everything that I don't need to be doing, and I've learned the hard way. That's why I do this, because I don't want other people to learn the hard way too. You know, if you know you're autistic or you've got suspicions you're autistic, rearrange your life maybe, implement a routine, monitor your behaviour, write things down, write when that happened, you know, what were the factors involved when you had that meltdown. Because it's amazing what you can learn over a few years of pattern recognition. Okay. I'm mostly suffering with anxiety and trying my best to breathe deeply and regulate my nervous system and emotions. However, my need and love for expressing myself takes over any fear of how I'm perceived or what negative things people might assume of me or project my way. My passion for helping others understand how autism affects adults who are late diagnosed, and the difference between early intervention in childhood and adults who do not know they're autistic, has been my drive. There are big differences, and I would like to explain why. I think a lot of people would relate. Please like, subscribe, share and comment if you have anything positive you'd like to add, so that we can spread the knowledge and share the love. And small channels really need your support with the algorithms, so that they can find the right audience and the right people, because if it's not going to the right people, there's no point in doing it. If it's going to the people who are just a 5-second attention span and they like short videos, you know, it's not going to suit those kinds of people. It's going to suit people who are autistic, who suffer with the same traits or symptoms. But it's like parents, teachers, you know, and I don't claim to know everything about autism, but I'm not afraid to tell you what goes on in here and what goes on in here and my nervous system, and to be absolutely brutally honest, because a lot of people aren't, and they mask still heavily because they're afraid what other people think. And I'm not afraid to speak about my emotions and, you know, my innocent love I've had for certain people, family, friends over the years, and how my autism and my sensory issues has been misconstrued. I'm not perfect. I've got my issues, you know, and I'm the first to apologise when I know I've done something wrong, or if I think I've upset somebody, and I reflect and evaluate myself and apologise. Sometimes I've apologised for things I haven't done wrong, you know, because the ego on some people is so strong that they wouldn't even think of doing that, because they think it's some kind of power trip or something, or power imbalance. But you know, that's narcissistic to think that, and it's accusing me of being a narcissist by thinking that, because I think narcissists like to feed off people, and I do not. I spend so much time on my own doing creative things, and I don't know one narcissist that does that. And it's taken me about 8 years to finish writing a book. It's called Platonic Romance. It's about growing up undiagnosed, and the confusion and the misunderstandings and the trigger zones, and how that one thing led to another after another. I've moved 42 times. I'm 46 years old. I'm really, really exhausted from my whole life. I can't go back into the lifestyle I used to have before. I can't go to noisy pubs. My friend took me to bingo a few years ago. I can't do that. It's absurd to think that I could, oh yeah, give it a try. Maybe I'm better now. I'm older now. Maybe I'm more desensitized to sound now. I'll give it another try. Dip your toe in the water, so to speak. But it doesn't work. I've been like I am. I've had the same brain wiring. I've had the same sensitivities. I've had the same problem with emotional, nervous regulation since I was 3 years old. You know, and you can make of that what you like. There's loads of factors involved, but it doesn't change the fact that my brain wiring is autistic since I was born, and whatever anyone else wants to judge, I was the one sat having a diagnosis assessment for 10 hours, nobody else. So, you know, I'm here to help. There's no other reason why I'm doing this. And if I can't help in the little ways I can, I'll try and do something else, but I will try until the bitter end and make something work. So that's why I wrote the book, and it's out hopefully on October the 12th. It's called Platonic Romance, and hopefully it'll be on Amazon for sale. I've just got to upload it and buy an ISBN number for a barcode. And you know, I suffer gender confusion at school. I can't say dysphoria, because that's something that a psychiatrist or doctor would diagnose. You know, and if you can't peel off all the other factors involved, like parental trauma, generational trauma, what is, you know, you can have a mental health condition like bipolar, BPD, on top of your brain wiring, autism, ADHD. You know, there's so many things. You can be a narcissist and be autistic and be bipolar. You can be, you know, an absolutely non-narcissist, amazing person, you know, and live a very quiet life. And people can only guess what you like, and talk about people and gossip in the little groups and say little bits here, bits there, and people take bits of jigsaw pieces everywhere they go and just assume what they think other people's lives are. And I'm just so done with that. Absolutely done. Okay, rattling on quite a bit. Okay, here we go. Oh, the I. Sometimes I sigh. Lots of people sigh. That's not a very positive sigh. And if somebody's in the queue doing that, I don't know, you get people reacting, you know, oh, is it me? Everything's all about us all the time, isn't it? But yeah, so if I need a sigh because I'm really anxious, my jaw's really tight and I've got palpitations, and you know, I just need to regulate in the moment, because it's easier to channel the sounds and the input, the stimuli, straight through and out. So if I'm doing that, it's straight out. I'm not subliminally, subconsciously, taking it all in, letting it store up over time, and then snapping at the wrong situation or person for the wrong reason and getting judged on something that has nothing to do with the actual reason. There's a big difference, and I would like to explain why. with early intervention and not having a diagnosis. I think a lot of people would relate. So if you could like, subscribe, share, I'd be so grateful. Thank you. Primary and comprehensive school was a challenge, and I've more or less always felt like I've been living behind a glass. I just wish the glass had been soundproof in some situations growing up. That might have added some comedy value to the emotionally dysregulating situations I felt lost navigating through. To not know you have a processing delay in a society that is already too overwhelming and too fast or rushed is disabling in itself. Of course we don't know this at the time, as we're too busy concentrating on blending in and masking, making sure the mask doesn't slip off. We're too busy observing others to see how they're managing to function and reach socially constructed milestones. If only we knew that it was okay to be ourselves, but we didn't. Especially at school, where children will target anyone who is different. I had a very bouncy walk, and I was nicknamed Bob, or Bob-along, in comprehensive school, so I tried to walk just like everyone else, until later on in life, 35 years later, I discovered that it is quite common for people with autism to walk on their tiptoes. It might be to do with a high instep, which makes tendons quite painful when walking, so it's easier to bounce forward on my tiptoes than to try and oppress my natural ways. But I did that just to avoid being bullied. Oppressing our natural ways of being was something I never really thought much about until recently. But now it is clear that what I have been doing all my life, and all I want to do now, is pick up that lost, confused child who was too afraid to speak, who couldn't speak up in situations where she felt scared and frozen, and protect her with everything I have left in me. Fortunately, I have found a way to do that, while at the same time helping others understand themselves. I know it is different growing up now than in the 80s and the 90s, but if I can help people, women especially, who have been struggling all their lives, or have been misdiagnosed, late diagnosed, and my battery is low, I'll have to just pause and start again, self-diagnosed, then the journey has not been in vain. Be right back. All I can do is share with you my own personal experience of being an undiagnosed autistic child and how that shaped me and my life. I refuse to live the next chapter of my life in deep grief over not knowing life-changing information and possibly life-saving information. Because if I'd never known I am autistic, I might still be drinking alcohol and putting myself into situations where I wanted and needed drink or use cannabis to better the environment I was in. I refuse to isolate myself to make others comfortable because they are happy and not acknowledging my existence. I cannot feel lonely around people anymore because of their ignorance, and I refuse to shrink like a flower in the fountain when I have been given the gift of life to do whatever I like with, as that would be a huge insult to whoever gifted me that life in the first place. Having an autism diagnosis. The truth and reality of having an autism diagnosis is that on the day after I was diagnosed, I felt like I'd just won a grand prize. It was a huge relief to have the truth of why I have struggled my whole entire life, to not know why I've suffered with different ailments, but mostly burnout, which to an autistic person feels like grueling chronic depression, low to zero energy, no appetite, painful joints, constant loop of thoughts, not knowing who to trust, feeling extremely daunted by uncertain future, not having any control over my life, feeling like I need permission to breathe, laugh, to enjoy anything. Late diagnosed autism is extremely misunderstood, judged harshly, underdiagnosed, and surprisingly there is a minimum to zero support accessible, and if there was any support post-diagnosis, it is very likely that it's not autistic friendly. I have been very lucky because I fought for it with support from my mum, and then with a charity. I don't want to mention any names because I want to keep some of my life private and sacred, because people know far too many things, and I just don't think it's healthy really. People wanting to know other people's personal business, it's just not healthy. I think people should fulfill themselves, and they'll have so many things to not think about and to meditate on, and yeah, that will solve that. Be the electrical light being that, you know, you were born to be. We're all amazing. All of us are. We need to all love ourselves and support each other in doing it. The difference between early intervention and a late diagnosis of autism. Number one, a lifetime of trauma. Let me explain. If you know you are autistic and you and your family implement positive changes and boundaries into your life, your home, for example, implementing a routine, making sure your environment is sensory friendly, being allowed to rest between transitions, not encouraging or forcing detrimental activities on top of your school week, like brownies, guides, judo, after school club, etc. Having a quiet, sensory friendly environment to decompress, then the chances are that you will grow up and navigate the world knowing that you have specific needs and it's acceptable and okay to want to do quiet activities alone, as opposed to feeling so overwhelmed within a group setting with lots of stimuli around that you internalise yourself as very strange and inadequate, who can't seem to naturally enjoy, so you're constantly aware that you should maybe be smiling more, laughing more, wanting to join in more, initiate activities, etc. So as a result of these constant loops of thoughts and feelings, we don't understand, we tend to overcompensate for these internalized struggles. We assume that everyone feels and thinks this way, so we compare ourselves to everyone else and try to mask our true nature more. As we grow, we become better at it. Conditioned, in fact. We would copy others and pretend we are not struggling. If our mask was to slip, we would feel a deep sense of shame for showing our struggles, like we lost the game of life because everyone else managed to hide these struggles so well. That they looked like they enjoyed feeling the way that I did too. And I thought, how do they enjoy feeling like constantly overwhelmed and confused? Maybe I'm doing something wrong, you know, maybe just smile more. I remember my brother's friend in school a year above me, and I didn't even hear him say, all right, Nick. He said, what's the matter with you? Your face will break, smile, your face will break. And I just snapped out of my zone, and I was like, thinking I had such terrible issues. It's really damaging to a small child, you know. Inside I felt very dark and heavy and anxious, fearful, tired, not understood, ugly, weird, unworthy of having my simple needs met. I did enjoy helping the teacher, Mrs. Thomas, at break and lunch times, as it was quiet and I knew what I was doing because I had direct instruction. Mrs. Thomas was calm, smiley, enthusiastic about calm activities or chores, which she made fun of, and I didn't feel odd for not wanting, and I didn't feel odd for not wanting to skip around the yard with the girly girls or with the boy that used to pull my hair really hard that my head would hurl backwards, which really hurt. It hurt so much that it hurt my heart. The bell was too loud and the environment was unpredictable out there. I got one of those weird twitches. Somebody said, have you ever had that and your eye feels like it's pulsating, like stressed Eric, but I'm not stressed. Somebody said it's a lack of magnesium, but I don't know. Nobody else can see it. Anyway, swiftly moving on. Yeah, Mrs. Thomas was amazing, you know. I didn't feel odd for wanting to skip around in the yard with the girly girls or the boy that used to pull my hair. The bell was so loud and the environment was unpredictable out there with so many children and their agendas. But of course I did not know this at the time. I was in a constant state of alexithymia with brain fog and paranoia. Yes, I had paranoia at age 4, before any real trauma, alcohol or drugs. If a child grows up believing there is something wrong with them or they're defective, they might admire their classmate who seemed like they might have it all together and copy that classmate. They might do this until they find out that it's not really working for them. Then they might feel totally lost again. Feeling lost and inadequate was like a natural default, except there is nothing natural about that, until they saw another sign or clue and followed that path, instead of the recent past's failed mission. This was a pattern I followed to go undetected as an inadequate, odd, defective child. I know that's not the case now. I am so grateful that I've had my diagnosis. I thought I had ME or fibromyalgia because I was so burnt out. I just couldn't move. I was on the floor, I was on antidepressants. It's, you know, around the COVID time as well. So, what a roller coaster. If you're still here, hello, well done. The activities I enjoyed the most was playing Lego at my best friend's house, because we generally were left alone by the adults and we could build blocks and do role play with the Lego figures. It had a purpose. We were building something. It was a one-to-one and alone. There was a purpose to it. It was quiet, and most importantly, there were no interruptions. I enjoyed being outside in nature, watching the water boatmen skate on the pond, while they made mesmerising ripple circles as they moved so lightly across the surface, without disturbing the rest of the water and creatures in it. I enjoyed being fascinated by insects in the earth, gently turning over stones after learning that so many creatures bathed in the coolness of the shade there. Counting the legs of millipedes or centipedes, watching grasshoppers jump and wondering where they land. There are so many simple, beautiful and wondrous things to enjoy as a child. It was just a case of being alone, left alone long enough to lose myself or immerse myself in it. School breaks and lunchtimes weren't the appropriate times to do this. There were not very many opportunities to relax into my own mind and body, to truly feel at one with nature. School breaks and lunchtimes weren't the appropriate times to do this. There were not very many opportunities to relax into one's own mind and body, to truly feel at one with themselves and nature, our own essence, the stuff we're made out of. The only time I feel like I'm not an outsider looking in is when I'm in peaceful nature. Now, in this day and age, there are not many places to enjoy any kind of natural peace, and you do think that you found a place and walk quite far to get there. You might find someone using a lawnmower or a leaf blower where really there is no need at all. Morning times are perfect if we were not rushed to get out of bed and to school quickly. By the time the first break time came, I just needed a nap. There were so many silly games the teachers made us play. I would not like it one bit, especially that game Farmers in the Den. Let's not forget Oranges and Lemons. And Ring-a-Ring-a-Rosies. However, I did love What's the Time, Mr. Wolf? The indoctrination and conditioning of our minds started very young. Time to eat, time to play, time to learn, time to sleep, time to wake and repeat. With the big bad wolf calling the shots and adults telling us when they think we should put food into our bodies and when they think we should go to the toilet, play, learn, sleep, we grow up losing the natural magic we were born with, teaching us how to live inside the constraints of the illusionary box, hearing adults say sternly, "Do as I say, not as I do," watching as they encourage us to count and label everything, missing the magic, beautiful magic in between the numbers. Do you know, it fascinates me how most languages have similar names or labels for things. I mean, who is the top boss in charge of, who says this is a stone and this is a tree? Who made up those rules? At break time at school, it was a concrete yard, grey and hard and really hurt when you fell on your knees. It also made lots of noise when the plastic wheels of the toy bikes and scooters were pedalled around by lots of children. It would have been nice if I was encouraged to be barefoot in the soil and the environment was natural enough to not need sound-cancelling headphones, although I didn't know these existed until I was in my 30s. If I had known, it would have been a total game changer. If teachers were aware of the signs to look out for, that would have been a game changer too, a life changer. If adults in general realise that there's nothing wrong with a child who chooses to be away from the other children, they might look a little lost and anxious, but that's because I was picking up on the concerned adult's energy, unfathomable facial expressions and whispered conversations that perhaps I was not meant to have noticed. And as a result, I internalised every frown, stare, non-smile as myself being a massive problem, without ever knowing a logical reason why. The child might overhear a teacher talking to a parent saying she's a bit shy. What does that even mean? I'm not sure I ever knew what they were saying in the whole, but I do know this: being shy was not good, and there was something I needed to get to where the other children were already at, and the adults needed to get me there. Well, I'm 46 years old now, and I'm nowhere near where they are, and I'm relieved about that. I've been told by adults my whole life that I'm too shy and not confident enough. I didn't understand playtime at school. Even 4 to 6 children around the sandpit was too much for me. Elbows touching me and overexcitable children erratically throwing sand everywhere made me anxious and like my needs were being ignored. I could not pinpoint what anxious meant as a child, and I did not know I had emotional needs, which were important. What child does? But I knew I didn't like it, and maybe because my face was neutral, of neutral expression or lack of expression most of the time, the teachers must have thought that was normal. Who knows? They should have seen my facial expressions when I played with the Lego, but no adults saw that. They were just happy I was quiet and in one place. If I had the sandpit all to myself with no one around, I would have liked that, or with one other child who was not boisterous, I might have liked that too. Nursery was good and bad, and so was infants class. I was quiet and a submissive child, not a bossy, loud leader. I loved touching the tree bark and feeling the texture of nature and getting lost in wonder, but soon would be disturbed abruptly by the loud school bell, or by the dinner lady shouting, or by a child doing something too busy. I often wonder, as an adult, if we quiet, shy children, were left alone to discover the awesomeness of our own limitless imagination and what ideas we could have discovered, what realizations were our own real eyes we would have learned, but we are never undisturbed long enough to find out. Keeping our nervous systems in a heightened state, which led to internal emotional roller coasters or implosions, which were not detected by others until that straw that broke the camel's back. That daft saying that because I literally felt like the straw. Oh my goodness. Hang on, I don't know what I'm saying here. I wrote this a year and a half ago, and I've not even read it once before reading it to you guys. It's a daft saying, okay. It's a daft saying that neurotypical adults would say, and they'd call petty or out of the blue. They never saw the build-up over minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years, only the explosion or the meltdown when forced to put on an itchy dress or restricting pair of tights, or when a bit of baked bean juice was touching a chip on my plate. I might have screamed the house down. If an ABA therapist was taking notes, judging my behaviour, then I might have been sent to a psychiatrist who would have tried to work out why I could not bear bean juice on my plate. However, it would have been a build-up of the unspoken struggles every day until I could not contain the overwhelm of emotions anymore. It would have been the shouty teachers and the very strict dinner lady and the mound of lumpy mashed potato piled up on my plate at school. My body and brain would have oppressed itself every time I wanted to run away, scream, put my hands over my ears, but I didn't. I couldn't. I was frozen like a fawn inside, constantly having heart implosions, which are the opposite of having heart explosions, like when you really like somebody. The opposite of having a heart explosion feels heavy, like an energetic punch in the chest. It affects the way you hold yourself. It affects your ability to retain information and results in brain fog. It affects your processing abilities in social encounters and your processing time, which is dangerous. To not show facial expressions which could indicate these internal challenges to a teacher, or to not move out of paralysing fear of being shouted at or have attention drawn to me, is what we call masking. Faking it till we make it, until the end of the day, until break time, until you're an adult suffering burnout from your whole life. A masking child can hold it all to a certain degree, but the inevitable will happen. Where, when, and who is around to witness it is not something we can control easily, so it is as vital as an adult who is aware they are autistic to put the necessary boundaries in place and to manage their energy efficiently to minimise damage. There are other things to consider, like codependencies, addictions, generational trauma and conditioned patterns we have crystallised into our brains. So maybe the first time I had a screaming fit when I saw a baked bean on my plate, I might have been overloaded to the point I can't take it anymore. Then the trauma from that meltdown created a crystallised pattern in my brain which triggered me every time I smelled the smell of baked beans heating in the pan. And so although it was not controlled or a behavioural problem, it was the fear of becoming dysregulated again and being in a heightened state of fight and flight mode then that incident or pattern would be reaffirmed by parents who could not work out what the problem was with the baked beans. There's actually nothing wrong with baked beans. I love them now as an adult, as I changed the pattern when I recognised it. The formed pattern became so ingrained as a child, and triggers can be very misunderstood. I can't have orange juice in the morning anymore for a similar reason. So there are many reasons we melt down or implode, and the older I become, the longer the implosions would last. I say that in the past tense because I live in faith that things will get better, even if it feels like it won't sometimes. I'll write as if I can manifest it to happen. Some people believe that happiness is a choice. That must be a privilege. For many people, just simply cannot. It shows very clearly in the statistics for self-harm and suicide. If happiness was really a choice, then these statistics would not exist in the first place. Trying to change or modify the behaviour of a child or anyone is detrimental and oppressive. Reprimanding or punishing is just creating more narcissists in the world, and I think social media has done a fine job at that. ABBA therapy is just invalidating an already invalidated and damaged child. Allowing space just simply be, space to express, not oppress, space to choose, move, speak, space to be in their own world and connect in a person-centred way if they wanted to. There are so many ways we can connect with an autistic person without patronising them to the point of them wanting to harm themselves. Okay, that's everything on the sheet. Yeah, do you remember Farmers in the Den? The teacher would pick the farmer, which was normally the loudest, the squeakiest wheel gets the oil. I'll be the farmer. It was never me. I didn't want to be the farmer. So they choose the farmer, and then the farmer would be really excited because he wants to choose his favourite girl in the class to be the wife. So she's like, pick me, like the donkey of Shrek. And then the wife wants a child, so she picks a bestie, another, you know, confident, outspoken child, and I'm just dying, wanting the floor to swallow me, thinking, oh, please don't pick me, please, no. And it was always the bone. It was the farmer has a wife, the wife has a child, the child has a dog, and the dog has a bone, and then the bone goes in the middle, and I've been chosen to be the bone. And then all the children come in the middle, we all tap the bone, and all these hands, like about 20 kids, tapping your head. That was, I don't know, it just felt like, what's that, linguistic, I don't know, it just felt like he was doing something. You tell me, who knows? But it was very overwhelming, and oranges and lemons, and they had to do that, off with the head, and then you chop the ring-a-ring-a-ro. It's all very negative, isn't it? And then ingraining the time to eat. It's just, yeah, and Simon says, put your hands on your heads. So conditioning us to do as we're told all the time. Even if an adult says to do something that's detrimental, we might automatically do it because we've taken the words literally, and they echo in our brain for days, maybe weeks, years, who knows. It depends what it is, and it depends if you've got an environment to heal in. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to writing more. I haven't done this for ages, so please excuse the mistakes, and if you like the content, please let me know, and I'll be inspired to do some more because I've got so much more to say. Alright, thank you for listening. Take care. Bye.